Bayer now has over 50% share in hundreds of agriculture companies that own the proprietary seeds, soybeans, corn, GMO. They own those seeds. So if a farmer tries to save those and replant them instead of
Mhm.
buying from them, they get sued and
Yeah.
run out of
And,
business.
and just so people know, when you say those proprietary seeds, basically we're talking about seeds that are engineered to be resistant to glyphosate. So you can spray as much on them as possible to,
Yeah.
make as much of these crops as possible. And so the exact crops that we're growing the most of are also the things that have the most glyphosate on them.
100%. Talk about the best business model, right? Like you get paid on both sides of the equation. And the problem is like biology is so much smarter than any of us will ever be. Like we will never understand the intricacy of Mother Nature. And that's okay. I think we can just work with her. The problem is we are now trying to fight biology with chemistry and we will always lose. And so you look back at the last 70, 80, 100 years, one chemical was working until it stopped. Then super weeds started developing that became resistant to that chemical. Oh, time to develop the next chemical, time to develop the next chemical, next chemical, next chemical. It is a great business model for these big agriculture companies. And we are becoming like the test subjects for that because there's not enough government regulation. I don't think that more and more regulation is necessarily the answer. I think it's becoming more of an empowered consumer base
Yeah.
and understanding where we are exposed to these things, who is using these things, who isn't.
Yeah.
And then you dive into organic eggs and conventional eggs can have levels of glyphosate higher than the EPA allows. And you're
Yeah.
like, wait, how does that work?
Yeah. So they spray it on the soybeans. We grow a lot of soybeans. We feed it to the chickens. It gets into the chickens and into the chicken eggs. And then there's glyphosate and all that stuff. One of the things I learned last year that was disturbing, even though it was interesting, from a man named Ramon Velasquez at Arizona State University. He basically showed the experiment is basically you expose animals to glyphosate, and then you see what happens in their brains. You expose animals to glyphosate for a little bit, just for a little while. And then you stop and you wait a long time. It would be years in a human that this would equate to, but you're waiting weeks and months in a lab rodent. And basically you could find this toxic metabolite of glyphosate in their brains weeks and months later. It's driving neuroinflammation and neurodegeneration. So the glyphosate is indirectly causing it by way of its metabolite AMPA. But the thing is, the sort of let's call it the detox pathway of the body. The way that you combat this inflammation is actually a pathway that is dependent on choline. And so choline is a nutrient that some people know about, but not everyone. And you need it to sort of combat the toxic effects of this glyphosate metabolite. But what's kind of interesting and disturbing about that is so many people have moved to more plant-based diets over the years that choline really only comes from animal products. So the people that are going to be most exposed to the glyphosate that would cause that inflammation are the most likely to be deficient in the choline, which is what the body, the part of the pathway that the body needs to clear that stuff out. So there's all of these horrible loops that society has constructed where people are exposed to things, they're told they're okay, but they're not okay. And then their body's actually nutrient deprived in exactly the ways it would need to actually sort of get rid of these toxins.
It's amazing how much data there is out there showing the problems, but it really is suppressed. I just pulled up my article on glyphosate and it's been shown to inhibit both complex 2 and complex 3 of the electron transport chain. It also acts as a chelating agent, which is a good thing for agriculture, but not inside of us, right? So it's going to chelate metal ions like iron, copper, zinc, manganese, calcium, magnesium, all of which are critical cofactors of
Yeah.
energy production.